I want to start today by asking you something, and I want you to actually think about it before I keep talking. How much time did you spend last week dealing with a communication that maybe went sideways? Maybe it was a direction that didn't land, or a conversation you had to have multiple times, an expectation that you thought you'd set, but somehow it did not make it to the other side. Maybe it's a team dynamic that's been kind of low-grade tense for longer than you want to admit. If you added it all up, those conversations, the follow-up conversations, the re-explanations, the meetings that ran long because someone didn't have the right information, the one-on-ones that felt like you were starting from scratch, how much of your week does that actually take? For most leaders, it's more than they realize, and it's more than it needs to be. Welcome back to Leadership Clearly. I'm Julie Wagner, your host, and today I'm going to tell you exactly why this keeps happening and what it looks like to actually fix it. Before we get started, I need to apologize. I have a cold and I'm getting over losing my voice. So if my voice sounds a little funny sometimes or I sound stuffy, it's because it's both. So we're going to dive right in. Let's talk about the real reason why communication breaks down. Here's something that I have noticed amongst leaders, and this is what I see a lot of leaders believing. If the communication keeps breaking down, the problem is the communication itself. So what happens? These leaders, they just try to communicate more. They send more emails. They add more meetings. They repeat themselves. They start to over-explain. And none of this works because they're treating the symptom, not the cause. And guys, I am speaking from personal experience here. I want you to understand everything I talk about on this podcast, I am talking from personal experience, long-term experience. So the actual reason communication breaks down on most teams, it's not a lack of information, right? It's a mismatch between how one person delivers the information and how another person is wired to receive it. You don't have a communication problem, my friends. You have a clarity problem. And those require completely different solutions. A communication problem says, I said the words, they should have heard them. I know we've all heard that because we probably all thought that at some point. A clarity problem says, did I say those words in a way that the person in front of me or the people in front of me could actually receive it? And here's what makes this hard. We all default to communicating the way we like to receive information, which means that for every person on your team who processes things differently than you do, you're speaking a language that just doesn't land with them. And you're speaking that language every single day. I want you to know this isn't a character flaw. It's not a management failure. It's just a gap that nobody gave you the framework to close. I have talked about this on previous podcasts. If you've listened to any of my podcasts in the past, I have talked about the communication types that we have and how to actually communicate with your team. This is no different. We are just diving in a little bit deeper today. So I want to start with some scripture. Proverbs 11:14 says that in abundance of counselors, there's safety. I believe that the diversity of how people think and communicate isn't something to work around. It's something to lead with intention. And when you learn to do that, everything changes. I promise you, everything changes. I'm going to show you what this style mismatch looks like in real practice, because I'm guessing that you're probably going to recognize at least one or two of these. Here's the first dynamic. You have someone on your team who moves fast. They see the vision, they want to execute, and they have very little patience for anything that feels like it's slowing their momentum. And then you have someone else who needs to understand exactly how something's going to work before they can commit. They ask questions, a lot of questions. They want the processes spilled out. They need runway before the change. Put those two people in a same conversation without a framework, And the fast mover reads the question asker as resistant, foot dragging, not bought in. And the question asker reads the fast mover as reckless, skipping steps, not thinking it through. Neither of them is wrong. They're both doing exactly what they're wired to do. But without the language for it, they'll grind against each other indefinitely. And you will spend your time managing the fallout instead of leading the work. Here's a second dynamic for you. You have someone who leads with data. They lead with logic. They crave evidence. They want numbers before they weigh in because guess what? They are numbers people. And then you have someone who leads with empathy. Before they can even engage with a strategy, they need to know how the team is doing. They need to know the why. They need to believe the people are being considered. You bring them into a meeting to align on a decision. One person wants to talk data, the other person wants to talk people. Both feel like the other is missing the point entirely. But, guys, both of them are right. The data person is protecting the plan, the people person is protecting the team. You need both. And when they can't hear each other, you lose both. Here's a third dynamic for you. This one I think might be the most common. It's definitely the most common that I see. The leader who communicates in the shorthand of their own style and the team member who needs something different to actually move. The leader says, "We're changing direction. Here's where we're going." And they think they've communicated it, okay? But one person on the team needed to understand the reasoning first. Another needed to know how this affects the people. Another needed to know exactly what steps look like from here. Nobody got what they needed. Everyone leaves the meeting with a different level of clarity. And the leader is going to spend the next 3 days having one-on-one conversations cleaning it up. And then they wonder why every major communication takes so much follow-up. Your team isn't resisting your leadership. They're waiting for you to speak their language. Let's dive into the framework that actually can help you change this. So again, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you've already been introduced to the 4 clarity styles: the visionary, the architect, the connector, and the anchor. Each one represents a God-given way of processing information, making decisions, and communicating. And the dynamics I just described, that's a visionary and an anchor in the first one, an architect and the connector in the second, and then a leader communicating with their default style to a team full of people that have different wiring in the third. Romans 12:4-6 says we have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. Guys, different gifts, different functions, different ways of showing up. God didn't design diverse teams to make your job harder. He designed them so the full range of gifts could accomplish what none of them could do alone. But my friends, that only works when someone in the room knows how to bridge the gap. And that someone is you. The Clarity Code is a 4-step framework that is built exactly around this. Know yourself, understand how you're wired, understand others, learn how the people around you receive information, adjust, lead from their wiring, not just yours, and then lead with clarity. Stop managing communication issues and start building the kind of team trust that only comes from being genuinely understood. So today I gave you just a little taste of what this looks like, but taste is not strategy. And that's what I want to talk about next. I have spent the last several months building something I am genuinely so excited to put in your hands. It's called the Clarity Code Bootcamp. It's a 5-day online leadership communication intensive, and it's the most practical, most complete version of everything I've been teaching on this podcast. Here's what the 5 days look like. I'm going to give you a little peek-see into it. Day 1, the leadership clarity reset. You are going to understand exactly why communication has been breaking down, not in general, but specifically for you with your team. You'll identify the patterns that have been costing you trust and momentum, and you're going to leave day one knowing exactly what you're looking for. Day two, the 4 clarity styles. You'll identify your own style, your strengths, your blind spots, the growth edge God is calling you into, and then you'll start mapping the people you lead through a framework that will change how you see every team dynamic you've ever been confused by. So, day 3, communication subtypes. This is where it gets really specific in a way that most communication frameworks never go. Within each of the 4 styles, there are 2 distinct expressions. When you know your subtype and the subtypes of your team, you stop generalizing and you start actually reaching people. Day 4, communicating with every type. This one is going to be your practical playbook. What to say, how to say it, what to start doing, what to stop doing. And this applies to every single style on your team. Day 4 is the one where leaders have told me, this is the conversation I've been trying to have for years, and I just didn't know how to have it. And last is day 5, the clarity leadership system. This is where it all comes together. You'll build your clarity communication plan. This is going to be a personalized strategy for your team, your style, and your specific gaps. You won't leave this boot camp just knowing the framework. You'll have a plan for using it the week after you finish. Each day includes a video lesson, a full workbook, and a daily email to keep you moving. It's designed for leaders with real schedules. Give yourself about 60 to 90 minutes a day, and you're in and out. You're done. The bootcamp officially launches in May. We pushed it back just a little bit, and here's why. I'm doing all the production myself. And again, I've been sick, so I had to put a little pin in everything, but I'm wrapping up the last of my video recordings. I've got everything else all ready for you. And now I'm just working on the platform and making sure that it is going to be the most seamless experience for anyone who designs to sign up for this. So I will be having early bird pricing that will be available only up until the end of June. And that means you're going to be getting the full program at a very significant discount before the price goes up to the regular price. Now, if you've been listening to this episode and you recognize the dynamics I described for you and your team, maybe you can already picture the person who needs a different version of you. This bootcamp was built just for that moment, just for that gap, and just for you. Here's the truth I want to leave you with today. The team you're leading, the people you're leading, the business you're leading, all of this, God gave it to you, and it's not an accident. Every person sitting across from you in a meeting, on a call, in a one-on-one, they were placed there with purpose. And part of your calling as their leader is to figure out how to actually reach them. That's what makes clarity possible. It's not just better communication, it's better leadership. It's more trust, it's more momentum. It's a team that actually feels led and connected. So, my friends, thank you for being here today. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love if you shared it with a leader in your life who needs to hear it. And if you're feeling generous, I would love a review on Apple or Spotify. It really genuinely helps leaders find this show. So I'll see you next week on Leadership Clearly. Thank you for joining me again today, and go lead well.